clearly she's not remembering who they let out to get her back.
The merchant of death.
The merchant of death. An arms dealer that wanted to kill American citizens, according to the report.
I mean, the trade took a little minute to happen too on the back end, on my end. Like, I had to get transferred from the penal colony to the men's prison in Moscow.
One Stephen A. Smith just set off a storm around the WNBA by hinting at hidden DNA files connected to Brittney Grier, questioning why she continues to compete without any disciplinary fallout. Think about that. If there's even a shred of truth to the whispers, why hasn't the league stepped in? Tonight, we peel back the layers of that firestorm one by one. Smith has built his career on making bold, headline-grabbing statements. But when he teased the idea of secret documents tied to Grier, it didn't feel like another performance. It landed heavier. He spoke with that sharp delivery he's famous for, leaving just enough silence between words to make people wonder if he knew more than he let on. His focus? Why Grier, despite a history of rough on-court incidents, has never faced league-shaking penalties. Fans and media immediately latched onto the moment. Was Smith just drumming up ratings, or was he hinting at something real? Remember, this is a figure with deep connections throughout basketball. When he puts a name in the spotlight, it usually means something. So what was he signaling? If rumors exist of files coming from her time in Russia, why has the league stayed quiet? Why haven't they even acknowledged the smoke surrounding her name? That silence was exactly what Smith emphasized. In sports, silence often speaks louder than the official press releases. To grasp why his words hit so hard, you have to look at Grier's dominance. At 6'9", with a wingspan that wipes out passing lanes, she doesn't just defend, she reshapes the geometry of the court. From her rookie year, she's been the anchor of her team's defenses, topping the league in blocked shots multiple seasons, and averaging strong double-digit scoring. She's got a championship to her name and a regular seat in all-star conversations. Her presence forces entire offenses to shift strategy. But here's where the debate lives. No one questions her talent, they question her edge. Is her physical power simply natural, or does it create an unfair imbalance? That's why Smith's DNA comment struck like a lightning bolt. It spoke directly to that lingering doubt.
You would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy, and something like this wouldn't faze you at all. The fact that it does is disturbing.
Her as a physical outlier in women's basketball. Add speculation about hidden testing or undisclosed records, and suddenly every blocked shot and hard foul feels like part of a bigger story. It's no longer just dominance, it becomes dominance under suspicion. Her arrest and detainment in Russia remain one of the most dramatic moments in modern sports. Picked up on cannabis-related charges, she spent months behind bars until the US government secured her release by trading for Victor Bout, a notorious arms dealer branded the Merchant of Death. The deal stunned people worldwide. On the surface, it looked wildly uneven. A star athlete for a man convicted of funneling weapons. That exchange alone sparked questions about just how valuable Grier was to American negotiators. Politics began swirling then, and Smith's latest remarks only reignited it. Consider this, if Russian authorities did medical testing while she was imprisoned, and if any results exist, could that information have influenced negotiations? We can't know for certain, but the idea lingers. The moment she landed back on US soil, every move she made on the floor carried the weight of that international drama. Every foul, every celebration, every emotional flare-up felt magnified. Like people weren't just watching her hoop, they were watching her live out a global headline. Her comeback to the WNBA was framed as a story of perseverance. Teammates praised her leadership, coaches applauded her strength, but the real storyline wasn't simply that she returned, it was how she looked when she returned. Fans saw she was just as physical, maybe even more relentless, crushing screens hard, elbows, heated arguments with referees. It all became part of the package. The stat sheets backed up the eye test. Her foul rate per game ranks high for her position, and her highlight reels often feature as many altercations as clean finishes. That's what Smith zeroed in on. He wasn't breaking down her jumper or her free throw form. He was asking the uncomfortable question. If she's so often at the center of disputes, why hasn't the league stepped in? Fans don't just crave spectacular plays, they also want fairness. And every time the WNBA stays silent, those whispers grow louder.
Trade took a little minute to happen too on the back end, on my end. Like I had to get transferred from the penal colony to the men's prison in Moscow, and I got checked into there. I knew I was getting traded, but the way they were treating me and their one little last play to terrorize me or mess with me, because when they were checking me in, they had me stripped down butt naked in front of a room of like probably about 7-8 men, and they had the Polaroid and they got me spinning in a circle while they like taking photos, right, of my tattoos, because my tattoos are, you know, whatever they are.
Then came Caitlyn Clark, the most celebrated rookie in a generation, arriving with record-smashing college stats and a style built on deep shooting, court vision, and composure. Clark immediately became the poster face for a new era, drawing sold-out crowds wherever she appeared. That spotlight naturally placed her on a collision course with Grier. When the two met on the floor, the contrast was magnetic. Clark thrives on finesse and space, while Grier relies on raw force and paint dominance. It was the new wave colliding with the old guard, and the moments when Clark absorbed punishing contact from Grier only fueled debate. Clark leads the league in drawing fouls, but when those fouls come from someone like Grier, they don't feel like standard basketball contact. They feel like survival tests. Smith anticipated those headlines before they even dropped. His remarks landed just as Clark's popularity was exploding, turning their clash into a cultural lightning rod. The WNBA's past and future were colliding, with Grier planted right in the middle, and that raised the bigger question: why hasn't the league acted? In most pro leagues, stars who cross lines face suspensions, fines, or at least investigations. In Grier's case, nothing. No reviews, no public concerns, just games rolling on as if nothing's happening. That silence doesn't just shield Grier, it threatens the league's integrity. Fans begin to wonder whether star power overrides fairness. Look at what she means to the WNBA. She's a seasoned veteran, an internationally known figure, and a symbol of resilience after her Russian ordeal. Pulling her off the court would dent the league's branding. Sponsors and media partners see her as a major draw, and losing that attention could hurt revenues and visibility. But the longer the league says nothing, the more it reeks of favoritism. Smith put a spotlight on that double standard, and fans feel it too. They sense the uneven playing field, and nothing fuels suspicion more than silence, especially when accountability seems to apply to everyone except the league's most prominent star. The longer this continues, the heavier the pressure gets, and the harder it will be for the WNBA to respond without looking like they were forced into action.
Clearly, she's not remembering who they let out to get her back.
The Merchant of Death.
The Merchant of Death. An arms dealer that wanted to kill American citizens, according to the reports. That's who they let out for her. You would think that you would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy, and something like this wouldn't faze you at all. The fact that it does is disturbing.
The political dimension of this controversy can't be overlooked. Grier's legacy now extends beyond basketball. She has been cast as a symbol of diplomacy, of social struggles, and of the league's own identity. That positioning grants her a kind of influence most athletes never touch. And when someone carries that much cultural weight, institutions tread carefully. The WNBA understands that suspending or heavily disciplining her could spark a backlash that overshadows the sport itself. That's why the idea of special protection doesn't seem far-fetched to so many observers. Smith's comments weren't only about Grier, they were about whether the league is strong enough to hold its own stars accountable. Every game she plays without repercussion gives the impression that athletes, not leadership, are running the show. And once that perception takes hold, it can spiral quickly. Who actually controls the WNBA? The executives or the stars they're too afraid to upset? That's the unresolved question hanging in the balance. And it stretches further still, because the league's reputation with sponsors, broadcasters, and even its own athletes hinges on whether fairness and discipline are applied equally.